What's going on, guys? It's Simorgh. So today I'm bringing to you my full set review and spoiler for Rising Rampage. Now, I'm going to have this broken up into two videos. I'm going to have the first 50 cards today and the next 50 cards tomorrow, just to break it up a little bit, but it's going to be pretty chill. You guys can just tab me out and do something in the background while I just talk through all these different cards. You can watch if you want to look at the cards as well, but it's going to be more of a podcast style type of video, and it's going to be pretty relaxed. But I do want to remind you guys that these cards are going to be legal for the Pro Play Tour event taking place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on August 17th and 18th. One of the first big events you can actually play with these new cards, and under the new July 2019 Forbidden and Limited list. $20 to enter, $2,000 prize pool up for grabs, and I'll be there doing commentary for the live stream. So pre-register link down in the description if you want to check it out, and I hope to see you guys there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into some Rising Rampage. The first thing I want to discuss are these prismatic secret rares that we're going to be getting for Rising Rampage. There are only 4 of them. This is one of them. The chase card is also another one as well. But what's so cool about this is that we actually have lottery cards in the sets again, and I think that's pretty significant because now there's actually a chance you could just get like a several $100 card in any of your booster boxes. We did get some information today actually that these are only going to be in the first edition run of the set, and the fact that these are a 1 in like 600 booster pack chance. They said it's 50 times that of what it is to get a normal secret rare, and a secret rare is already 1 in 12, so 12 times 50 is 600, so it's a 1 in 600 chance to pull one of these, which is like 1 in 2 cases. That's just insane. So I might do a whole video discussing these a little bit later on, but if you pull one of these, you are definitely going to be in the money. So kicking things off, we have Cap Shell. It is a Dark Fiend effect monster, level 2, 0 attack, 0 defense. You can only use one of the following effects of it once per turn, and only once that turn. If it's tributed, you can draw a card. If it's used as material for a fusion, synchro, or link summon, you can draw a card. Or if it's detached from an Xyz monster to activate an effect, you can draw a card. I talked about this in my top 5 cards of Rising Rampage, just because I think there's a little bit of potential here. This card is very interesting just because it's just any card that in Yu-Gi-Oh that allows you to draw, I think is very good. The attributing is also very important. I think it's easy to get dark monsters into the grave to help recur them, to tutor them out a little bit quicker than you would something else. It's just a very interesting design. I'm not sure if it'll really do anything, but overall, anytime you see a card in Yu-Gi-Oh that allows you to draw and it's fairly generic, it's definitely something you should keep your eye on. Next up is Rescue Interlacer. So it is a light Cyberse effect, level 3, 1000 attack, 1200 defense. During damage calculation, if your Cyberse monster is attacked, quick effect, you can discard this card. You take no battle damage from that battle. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was discarded there to activate this turn, special summon this card. It's okay. The fact that you have to basically use it to protect a Cyberse monster is a little bit conditional, and that's why I don't really think too highly of this card, but I guess it gives you some value if you do use it. It just has to be in a super heavy Cyberse based deck, but we are going to get more Cyberse cards the more time goes on, so I guess maybe that's something to look forward to. Cross Debug, this may be related to Lady Debug, so let's hope for the best. Dark Cyberse effect monster, level 2, 900 attack, 600 defense. If you control 2 or more link monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. That seems okay. During damage calc, if your link monster battles an opponent's link monster, quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 link monster in your graveyard. Your battling monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, until the end of this turn, it gains attack equal to that target's attack. You can only use each effect once per turn. I had such high hopes because getting 2 link monsters on the field isn't too difficult, but it kind of just went downhill. I think that's just, again, a very, very conditional card. Don't really think it's going to do a whole lot. Now we have the Marincesses. Now these cards are actually going to make a bit of a splash, no pun intended. So Marincess Seahorse, this is one of the other prismatic super mega rare cards that you can possibly get. It is a water Cyberse effect monster, level 3, 1400 attack, 1000 defense. You can special summon this card from your hand to your zone a Marincess link monster points to. You can only special summon this card once per turn this way. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish it from your graveyard, special summon 1 water monster from your hand to your zone a Marincess link monster points to. You can only use that effect once per turn. So this is one of the, I would say this is probably the heart and soul of the main deck monsters for Marincess. When we get to the link monsters, it'll make a little bit more sense, but very, very strong card. Allows you to just basically do, I believe, a 1 card link 3 play, which is pretty strong. Like I said, we'll discuss that a little bit later on. Next up, we have Marincess Sea Star, Water Cybers Effect, level 2, 800 attack, 400 defense. Keep in mind these are Cybers type, so Cynet mining will work to search these, especially the more support it gets, so that's something to keep your eye on. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, target a Marincess monster you control, gains 800 attack until the end of this turn, and you can only use that effect up to twice per turn. You don't really see that too often, but overall, I don't really think it's anything too special. There's definitely better Marincess cards to discuss. Next up is DMZ Dragon. I guess we're going to North Korea for this one. Dark Dragon effect, level 4, 0 attack, 2000 defense. Once per turn, you can target one level 4 lower dragon monster in your graveyard and one dragon monster you control. Equip that monster in your graveyard to the monster on the field as an equip spell that makes it gain 500 attack. At the end of the damage step, if the monster equipped with an equipped card attacked, you can banish this card from your graveyard, destroy as many cards as possible equipped to that monster you control, and if you do, that monster can make a second attack in a row. I mean, I don't really think you have to play a card like this. The fact that it's a dark dragon, and I guess is like very, very good for dragon decks, but like it just seems like all these extra steps for nothing, just because I feel like these decks that would play this card don't need a card that can make a card attack twice. They can probably just game you anyway, so I don't know about that one. Next up is Dino Wrestler Marshall and Kilo. It is a Earth Dinosaur effect, level 2, 1000 attack, 0 defense. During damage calc, if another Dino Wrestler monster you control battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. The monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, the attack of your opponent's battling monster is halved at the end of the damage step. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, because it was sent there from the field this turn, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. Again, battle trick effects I feel like are just way too situational. You need to have like some insane payoff for them to really be worth it, and this is kind of an example of one of them that I really don't feel like is. Next up is Dino Wrestler Rambrachio. It is a Earth Dinosaur effect, level 5, 1600 attack, 0 defense. When your Dino Wrestler monster inflicts piercing battle damage to your opponent, that's specific, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. You can only use this effect once per turn. Your opponent cannot target other Dino Wrestler monsters you control with card effects. So, like, that's okay, but again, it's something that happens to happen in the battle phase. They have to do piercing damage, which means your opponent has to have something in defense position. Just so specific. I'm just really not a fan of those types of cards. Now we have Fortune Lady Past, a dark level 1 spellcaster tuner effect monster with question mark attack and defense. This card's attack and defense become its level times 200. Once per turn during your standby phase, increase this card's level by 1 to a maximum of 12. You can target one Fortune Lady monster you control, banish any number of spellcaster monsters from your hand, field, or graveyard, and if you do, increase or reduce that monster's level by the number of monsters banished until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Fortune Lady Pass once per turn. I'm not really too keen on, too familiar with my Fortune Lady cards, so you guys can tell me down in the comments if this card's any good or not, because I really can't tell. Just in a vacuum, it doesn't really, I don't think, do anything. In fact, it's a tuner is nice that actually has a modular level, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, I really can't evaluate it because I don't know Fortune Ladies too well. Next up is Yosenju Sabu. So it is a Wind Beast Warrior effect, 1700 attack, 400 defense for a level 4. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was normal summoned this turn, return it to the hand. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn, so just the typical Yosenju clause. If this card is normal summoned, if you control another Yosenju card, you can add one Yosenju Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, so that's pretty cool. You can get the left and right scales. You can target one Yosenju card you control, place one Dizzying Winds of Yosenju Village or Yosen Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. If you do, shuffle the targeted card into the deck. So again, Yosenjus really haven't been doing a lot. They are very normal summon reliant. I don't think this really does anything that the deck needs necessarily. We have to see when we get to Dizzying Winds and Yosen Whirlwind, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be doing anything extra. Next, we have Yosenju Izna. It is a Wind Beast Warrior effect, level 4, 800 attack, 1200 defense. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card is normal summon, return it to the hand. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can discard this card. This turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect when a Yosenju monster is normal or special summon. That's a good card, because Yosenju is so reliant on those normal summons sticking, or special summons for that matter. That's a very, very good effect. That's almost like miscellaneous in a way. I like that a lot. The other effect is if you control another Yosenju monster, you can draw 1 card. Okay, this is a good Yosenju card. I can just tell by pure evaluation, like, this card is actually very, very good, and if I were playing Yosenju, I would definitely look to this. Now we have my Yosenju Hitot. It is a Wind Beast Pendulum effect, level 10, with a scale of 3, 2,000 attack, 3,000 defense. Its Pendulum effect, you can target 1 Yosenju card in your Pendulum zone, and for the rest of this turn, its scale becomes 11. You cannot special summon monsters except Yosenju monsters, and then during your end phase, return this card to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Monster effect cannot be special summoned except by pendulum summon. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. Each time a card or cards on the field is returned to the hand or main deck by your card effect, while this card is on the field, all Yosenju monsters you control gain 500 attack. Once per turn during the end phase, if it was special summoned, return it to the hand. The scale effect's kind of cool, being able to make something in 11 so you can pendulum summon anything out, but like the thing is, like, the Yosenjus didn't even really utilize the pendulum mechanic that much. They were kind of just better off just playing normally, so I don't really think this, again, like, there's really not a lot of payoff here to playing this card, at least that I see. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I really just don't see it. Now we have the Tenyis. This is a really, really cool archetype, I feel. The fact that it's a archetype that revolves around not having effect monsters, which sounds bad, but at the same time, there's like some cool payoffs for it as well. You guys will see what I mean. It's kind of like Yang Zing-ish in a way. It's a weird archetype, but it's pretty neat. So Tenzi Spirit Adhara is a Earth Worm Tuner effect monster, level 1, 0 attack and defense. If you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. I believe they all have that clause. If you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target one of your banished worm monsters, except this card, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. That's a pretty solid card overall. Again, you can't control effect monsters, but again, they have a ways to kind of work around that. Now we have Tenyi Spirit Sithana. It is a Water Worm effect, level 4, 400 attack, 2000 defense. Again, if you control no effect monsters, special summon it from your hand. If a face-up non-effect monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from the hand or graveyard, target one of those destroyed monsters, then special summon it, then destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. You can only use each effect once per turn. That's, again, pretty good for this archetype for what it's trying to do. All of them have these effects. You can banish them from the hand or graveyard to generate some sort of value, and I think Sithana is one of the better ones. Next, we have Tenyi Spirit Mapura. It is a Fire Worm effect, level 4, 600 attack, 1500 defense. Again, you can special summon if you control no effect monsters. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a face-up non-effect monsters you control, quick effect, banish this card from your hand or graveyard, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. So Mapura is basically protection, which is, again, pretty solid. Then we have Tenyi Spirit Nahata, Wind Worm effect, level 4, 800 attack, 1000 defense. Special summon if you control no effect monsters. When an attack is declared involving your face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard. That opponent's monster loses 1500 attack until the end of this turn. I think this is one of the weaker ones for sure, but again, not every archetype is going to have just insanely crazy cards. Now we have Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha. I know this for sure is one of the better ones. So it's a Dark Worm effect, level 7, 1500 attack, 2500 defense. Again, you can special summon if you control no effect monsters. If you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So the reason why that's good is because for extra deck cards that basically would dodge destruction for something like from the water one, this is a way to kind of remove them rather easily. It just has a very good synergy with the archetype overall. Very, very good card. Now we have the Simorgh archetype. I'm not going to spend too much time going over these. I actually did a video on them when they got first announced because I figured it was a little bit interesting seeing some retro support like this. So first off, we have Simorgh, Bird of Beginning. It's a Wing Beast effect, level 1, 0 attack, 1600 defense. When it's normal summoned, you can activate this effect. During the main phase this turn, you can normal summon 1 Simorgh monster in addition to your normal summon set, so that's already pretty strong. If this card's in your graveyard and your opponent controls no cards in their spell and trap zone, which is what a lot of these cards rely on, you can special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn, except Winged Beast. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now, Simorgh Bird of Bringing is a Wing Beast effect, level 2, 1000 attack and defense. When it's normal summoned, you can add 1 Simorgh card from your deck to your hand, except itself. Again, very, very solid cards for this archetype. If this card is in your graveyard and your opponent controls no cards in their spell and trap zone, special summon it in defense, but banish it when it leaves the field. Again, you're locked into Winged Beast. So they all have that ability, at least the lower level ones do, and both those effects are once per turn. Now we have Simorgh, Bird of Calamity, Wing Beast level 3, Wind, 1500 attack, 200 defense. When this card's normal summon, send one Simorgh card from your deck to the graveyard except Bird of Calamity. If this card in your graveyard is, it's basically the same clause, it gets to special summon itself just to save time. So again, the fact that you get to dump, it's pretty cool because then you can just, if your opponent has no spells and traps, you can immediately special summon whatever you dump with Calamity. Again, just very, very good setup tools. Now we have Simorgh, Bird of Protection, Wing Beast level 4, 1400 attack, 1000 defense. When it's normal summon, target one card in the opponent's spell and trap zone, return it to the hand, and then it has the resurrection effect from the graveyard. Now what's interesting about this is that your opponent has one spell and trap card. You can normal summon this, bounce the spell and trap. Now they don't have anything in the back row, and now you can start special summoning all the Simorghs from your graveyard because now you're not restricted because they have a back row. So Simorgh, Bird of Protection is very important for making sure all the cards go off. And now we have the new boss monster, Simorgh, Lord of the Storm. Winged Beast effect level 8, 2900 attack, 2000 defense. Your opponent cannot target this tribute summon card with spell or trap cards or effects. You can only use each of these effects once per turn. When a spell or trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you contribute a Winged Beast monster. Target one card your opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck. And when a Winged Beast monster you control is destroyed by battle while this card's in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. So it's kind of cool, but again, like I think the biggest problem is majority of the cards in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh especially are monster effects, so this doesn't really do a whole lot from that perspective. It's really good if we ever get to like a control format with a lot of spell and traps flying around, but for the most part, I don't really think Simorgh is going to do a whole lot. I believe there might be one more. Yeah, here we go. Simorgh of Darkness. So it's a Dark Wing Beast level 8 effect monster, 2900 attack, 2000 defense. While it's face up on the field, this card is also Wind attribute, and you can only use each of the effects once per turn. If you summon a Dark or Wind monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. So it's kind of like, what's it called? It's kind of like Darkest Diabolos because it has the clause, if it was there when the monster was tributed or hand, even if not. So that's kind of a cool way to just turbo this out. When a spell, trap card, or effect is activated, quick effect, tribute a Wing Beast, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. So Simorgh of Darkness pretty much handles the spells and traps, and then the other Simorgh can spin cards and just shuffle them away. That's pretty cool, but again, when we're in a metagame that's just heavily dominated by monster effects, it's very hard to kind of justify these cards, which are very spell and trap reliant. Now, I guess the one, counter argument is people don't really play tons of spell and traps, especially at the higher tiers of competitive play in their back row. So the fact that you could actually be summoning all this stuff's pretty cool, but then it locks you into Wing Beasts, and that kind of restricts you heavily. It's just, I don't really feel like it's enough to really go anywhere. Next up is BES Blaster Cannon Core. Yes, we're still giving this archetype support. Machine Effect Earth level 9, 2500 attack, 3000 defense. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's already pretty strong. You can only special summon this once per turn this way. If it's normal or special summon, place 3 counters on this card. Cannot be destroyed by battle at the end of the damage step. If it battled, remove a counter from this card if you cannot destroy it. I think it's kind of cool that it's like a special summonable level 9 if your opponent controls more monsters than you. That's pretty significant. We do know that there are some level 9 decks that are kind of out there, so that's a little bit interesting. I wish this just did a little bit more than just like protect itself from like being destroyed by battle, but I mean, it is what it is, I suppose. Can't have them all. Here we have Vic Viper T301, Light Machine Effect level 4, 1200 attack, 800 defense. When an attack is declared involving your face-up monster and an opponent's monster, you can special summon this from your hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. Other light monsters you control gain 1200, or light machine monsters you control, gain 1200 attack. Again, I really don't like these battle phase dependent effects, because that means you have to wait to the battle phase to be able to even get this card on the field. Yeah, it's from hand or grave, but then you have to do your stuff in main phase too. I'm looking to kill my opponent if I want to be able to special summon stuff out like this, and Vic Viper is just not going to be the way to do it. Now we have Reptilian Lamia, Dark Reptile Tuner Effect. That is a very interesting series of classifications there. Level 2, 0 attack and defense. If this card is in your hand and all monsters you control are face-up reptile monsters, minimum 1, so this card's never seeing play, you can target one face-up monster you control, change its attack to 0, and if you do special summon this card, then take damage equal to that monster's original attack. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target up to 2 face face-up monsters on the field, change their attack to 0. And you can only use one effect per turn and only once that turn. I mean, I don't really know what to say. Unless we get some like crazy reptile-based archetype, this card is probably never going to see the light of day. It's an interesting effect for sure, but I mean, oh, that's a rough one. I don't know how I feel about that. Now we have Ranryu. It is a Wind Dragon effect, level 4, 1500 attack, 200 defense. You can only control one of it. If you control a spellcaster monster, you can special summon this from your hand. All right. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, target a monster with 1500 attack and 200 defense in your graveyard, except this. Special summon it. I don't know what this is supposed to be pulling out of your graveyard, to be completely honest, but I guess if there is some way to pull this off with spellcasters, like, and get a free monster on the board, so be it. Now we have Avita, Rebuilder of Worlds. This card's actually pretty sick. So it's a light Cyberse effect, level 11, 3500 attack and defense. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by there being at least 8 or more link monsters with different names on the field and or in graveyards. You cannot special summon other monsters the turn you special summon this card. This card's special summon cannot be negated. So that sounds hefty, right? But listen to this. If this card is special summoned, shuffle all other monsters that are banished on the field and in the graveyards into the decks. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. I feel like this is going to be another card like Nightmare, Corrupt, or Idly, or the level 9 that you can summon like if your opponent controls like Link 8 worth of rating or something, where it's just a way to kind of reset the board so that you can't be stopped by your opponent's effects. This is what this card essentially is. Now, hopefully we never get to a format like that again, but this is essentially supposed to be one of those cards that's kind of like a check on the crazy Link, extra Link decks. I hope we never have to play this card, but I guess this card exists if we have to. Now we have Witchcrafter Golem Aruru. This is actually one of the secret rares of the set. Light Spellcaster effect, level 8, 2800 attack, 0 defense. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Spellcaster monster or monsters you control, or targets it for an attack, quick effect, target one card your opponent controls, or one Witchcrafter spell in your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, which is pretty sick, and if you do, return that targeted card to the hand. You can only use the effect once per turn, and once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, return this card to the hand. That's a pretty powerful effect. Witchcrafter isn't like the strongest archetype by any means, but that's a very, very solid card, and honestly, any archetype would love to have a cool effect like that. Now we have Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentron Sky Slasher, another secret rare of the set. Dark Machine effect, level 8, 2450 attack and defense. If this card's in your hand or graveyard, quick effect, you can banish 8 cards from the top of your deck face down. Special this card. You can banish 3 cards from your extra deck face down, then target one face-up monster on the field, destroy it. You can only use one of the effects once per turn and only once that turn. So it's pretty cool. It can special summon itself out, so it can be like an extender. You can pop something if you don't need to special summon. Like, it's just a pretty neat overall card. There doesn't really seem to be a specific niche for it at the moment, but I think you're going to see this card pop up eventually, maybe at the very least in like the Grenmaju to Aiza like rogue strategy, who knows. Cataclysmic Cryonic Koldo, okay. Wind Fairy effect, level 8, 2600 attack, 200 defense. If a face-up wind monsters you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, special summon this card from your hand, then place one spell trap from the field on top of the deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. So I guess the problem is wind is probably one of the least supported attributes and probably just has some of the worst support in the game. It's pretty cool that you can just drop this guy out, but like the bouncing spell trap effect, like I wish it just said shuffle something on the field back into the deck. Like that would be nuts, and it still wouldn't be like broken because wind isn't that good of an archetype. Now we have Voltester, Dark Thunder effect, level 7, 2500 attack, 1000 defense. If this card is special summoned to a zone a link monster points to, destroy all link monsters that point to this card, then destroy all monsters that those link monsters pointed to, and follow the link arrows of all those destroyed monsters, destroy everything they point to, and repeating the process until there are no more to destroy. This card cannot be destroyed by this effect. You can only use this effect of Volster once per turn. This is one of the weirdest worded cards I've ever read in my life. I understand what it's saying. They're basically saying you just destroy everything that's like linked to something else, but the problem is you have to get this card on the field to start, and it's not like this is like, you know, it has to be special summoned too, so it's not like you can just like normal summon this to something and just like have a chain reaction go off. Really, really bizarre card, not gonna lie. Now we have don't know how to pronounce that name. Takalal, his malevolent majesty. Dark Fiend effect, level 5, 2400 attack, 1000 defense. Those are Monarch stats. If this card is tribute summoned, you can destroy any number of face-up monsters your opponent controls whose combined attack is less than or equal to the original attack of the monster tributed to tribute summon this card. That's a pretty interesting effect. I think it's neat that it just can pop a ton of different cards. Again, like, it has to be tribute summoned. Like, Monarchs would love a card like this, honestly. I think it's a pretty solid include in that deck. I don't know if he would even make the cut, but it's a pretty interesting design. Destroying in 2019 Yu-Gi-Oh isn't the best, but I still think it's a pretty, I think it's a pretty okay card. It's definitely passable at the very least. Beat Raptor is a pretty interesting card. So it's an Earth Dinosaur effect, level 4, 1400 attack, 2000 defense. Negate the effects of monsters in the extra monster zones while this card is in the main monster zone. So it's like a mini skill drain, kind of. When this card is destroyed by battle, you can special summon one Beat Raptor from your deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. I wish if it was just destroyed like just period, instead of just having to be by battle, because that would make it a lot more versatile. But the fact that it can pretty much just negate extra monster zone effects is pretty cool. I don't really think it's like crazy good, but it's like, it could probably be like a nice include in some sort of anti-meta strategy. All right, next up we have Spirit Sculptor. So it's a light fairy effect, level 4, 1600 attack, 2100 defense, very beefy stats for a level 4. You can tribute one monster, add one monster from your deck to your hand, whose combined original attack and defense equals the combined original attack and defense of the tributed monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. So off the top of my head, I think you can get like Confronting the Sea. You can, or Contact Sea, sorry. You can get Contact Sea. Yeah, I think you can get Dark Magician Girl, if that matters. You can get Chronograph Sorcerer, and I think you can get Dynamite Knight, the True Draco Fighter, as well. So if you want to have like 4 copies of Dynamite, this is kind of a way to do it, because then if you have like a True Draco spell, you can just use that effect to tribute summon him. It's a very interesting design card. This is an ultra rare too. This is something to keep your eye on. I feel like there's going to be like one day where this card is going to have like the perfect like role in a deck, and it's just a very interesting design. I don't think we've really ever had a card like this before, so I don't know. I kind of like it. Now next up is Reversible Beetle. So it's an Earth Insect flip effect, level 3, 1100 attack, 1500 defense. Flip effect, shuffle this card and any face-up monsters in its column into the decks. If this card is normal or special summon, change this card and any monsters in its column to face down defense position. You can only use each effect of Reversible Beetle once per turn. I don't really like that you have to shuffle anything that's face up in the column to use its flip effect when its normal summon effect changes everything face down. I don't know. That just I don't really like that design at all. Now we have Magistric Magician. That's a really weird name. It's a fire effect, a fire spellcaster effect, level 1, 0 attack, 2000 defense though. Each time a spell card is activated, place a spell counter on this card when it resolves. During the end phase, you can remove 3 spell counters from this card, target one of your banished spells, add 1 card with the target's name from your deck to your hand. You can only use that effect once per turn. Okay, so in like the Endymion deck, you could maybe play this. I don't really think it's worth it because you don't get the card until the end phase, which means you have to wait an entire turn to use it, and that card could just be like, this could be like Magical Abductor and fetch you something useful. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that it lets you add any spell, but the spell has to be banished. Yeah, it's just too many hoops you have to jump through. Now we have Magical Libra. It is a water spellcaster pendulum tuner normal monster, level 4, 1000 attack and defense. So its pendulum effect is you can declare a level from 1 to 6, target 2 face-up monsters you control. Until the end of this turn, reduce the level of one of those monsters by the declared amount, and if you do, increase the level of the other by the same amount, even if this card leaves the field. You can only use that effect once per turn. I think it's interesting that it's a tuner normal pendulum spellcaster monster. I don't know, that could be relevant, but the effect doesn't seem like too crazy. It could come up, but overall, it's just kind of like one of those filler cards that, you know, you might see in a pendulum deck at some point. All right, now we have Fortune Lady Every. We're getting to the extra deck cards now. So this is a secret rare. It is a light spellcaster synchro effect, level 7, question mark attack and defense, requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner spellcaster type monsters. So it's fairly generic for spellcasters, I guess. So this card's attack and defense become its level times 400. So that means it basically starts off at 2800, not bad. Once per turn during your standby phase, increases card's level by 1 for a maximum of 12. Then you can banish 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. All right, that's pretty good. During your opponent's end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 other spellcaster monster from your graveyard, special summon this card. You can only use this effect once per turn. So again, I mentioned earlier, I don't have like the most keen on like grasp on Fortune Ladies, but this is a very, very good card. I mean, just the fact that it can bring itself back, it can banish stuff, like overall, just a very, very solid card. All right, now we have Borreload X Charge Dragon. This is the cover card. Dark Dragon Exceeds effect, rank 4, 3000 attack, 2500 defense. Requires 2 level 4 Dark Dragon type monsters. Pendulum players, eat your heart out. Neither player can target this Exceeds summon card with monster effects except its own. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material, target a face-up monster on the field. It loses 600 attack and defense. Then you can special summon 1 Boral monster from your graveyard, but banish it during the end phase. Also, you cannot special summon other monsters or attack directly for the rest of this turn. I'm not really feeling this. This feels like way too many restrictions on this card for not a lot of payoff. I mean, there's so many other better rank 4s you could play. It's not really feeling it. Now we get to the Marincess Link monsters, so this will be cool. I finally get to discuss this. So first up is Marincess Blue Slug. So it is a Water Cyberse Link effect, Link 1, and it just points down. 1500 attack, requires 1 level 4 or lower Marincess monster. If this card is Link summoned, you can target a Marincess monster in your graveyard except itself, add it to your hand, but you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except for water monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. So what you can do is you can normal summon that card from earlier, the other secret rare. You can go immediately into Blue Slug, use Blue Slug's effect to add it back to hand, then you can special summon it to the arrow that Blue Slug is pointing to, and then you pretty much can go up into a Link 2, which is Marincess Coral Anemone. So it is a Water Cyberse Link effect with bottom left and, with down and left arrows, 2000 attack, Link 2, just requires 2 water monsters. You can target a water monster with 1500 or less attack in your graveyard, special summon it to your zone this card points to, but you can't summon except for the rest of the turn except for water. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, target 1 Marincess card in your graveyard except itself, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So now that you have Anemone on the field, Anemone can actually resurrect one of your other Marincesses, and then you can go up into the Link 3, which is Marincess Marbled Rock, another one of the secret rares. So Water Cyberse Link effect with down, left, and right arrows, 2500 attack, a Link 3, just requires 2+ water monsters. You can target 1 Marincess card in your graveyard except Marbled Rock, add it to your hand. So you could add back the effect monster and basically do this whole combo again next turn, which is pretty cool. You can only use this effect once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send 1 Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard. For that battle, monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage. That's like okay. I think it's cool whatever you add back you can discard for this effect. It's a battle trick. I'm not too fond of these, as you guys know. Taking no battle damage is actually pretty significant because that means you're not going to die that turn. So I mean, that's pretty cool. But again, it does have to be in the battle phase, so you have to be, this thing has to survive till the battle phase for you to even use that effect. But Marincess is a very cool archetype. It supports Paleozoic very well, and we're only going to get more support for the set in the future, so definitely something to keep your eye on. Now we have Monk of the Tenyi. Is a Worm Earth Link non-effect monster. It is a 1000 attack Link 1 with an arrow that points straight down, and it just requires 1 non-link Tenyi. So you can use any of those Tenyi cards we discussed earlier, immediately link into this, and now you control non-effect or no effect monsters. So you can just special summon another one out and go directly into something like your Link 2, which is right here. We have Shaman of the Tenyi. It is a Fire Worm Link effect with bottom left and bottom right arrows. 1600 attack, just requires 2 worm monsters. You can discard a card, then target a worm monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but you cannot activate the effects of that monster that were special summoned from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Tenyis. When an attack is declared involving your face-up non-effect monster, target 1 card in your opponent controls, destroy it. So you can only use each effect once per turn. Not a bad card, it's pretty decent. What's neat is that so when you make this, then you can use its effect, discard something, special summon one of your worms that you use to link into this, this, and then you can go up into the Link 3 Berserker of the Tenyi. So this is a Dark Worm Link with bottom right, up and top right arrows. Very interesting arrows. 3,000 attack, Link 3. It just requires 2+ monsters, including a Link. So it doesn't even really have to be worms, which is pretty neat. And again, this is a non-effect monster. So keep in mind with the Tenyis, your whole idea here is that you want to be having non-effect monsters. So you could be using the effects of the Tenyis in the graveyard or in the hand or what have you, just to be triggering all these different effects. So even though this is your end board, that's kind of like what the deck's trying to do. Not like too impressive, but again, it's pretty cool design. Now we have Wynn, the Wind Charmer Verdant. This is another one of those hyper rare prismatic secret rares you can pull. It is a Wind spellcaster link effect with bottom left, bottom right arrows, 1850 attack, Link 2. It requires 2 monsters, including a Wind monster. It's basically Hida, the Fire Charmer Ablaze, except for Wind monsters. So if you don't know, you can target a Wind monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your zone that this card points to, and if this Link summon card will be destroyed by battle or destroyed by an opponent's card effect, while it's in the owner's monster zone, you can add 1 Wind monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So you can take something your opponent has, say they have like a Draw and Lockbird, you can steal that, make a Link 3, and then if it gets destroyed somehow, you get to add something to your hand. So just very, very good value Link 2 overall. Now we have Link Mail Archfiend. This is a really sick artwork in my opinion. Dark Cyberse Link effect with 4 arrows. So it's top left, left, bottom left, and then bottom right. 2800 attack, requires 2+ monsters, including a Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz. So that's a little bit specific. If it's special summoned, you can target 1 Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz monster you control or in your graveyard. All monsters your opponent currently control lose attack equal to that targeted monster's attack until the end of the turn. Your opponent cannot target monsters you control that were special summoned from the extra deck with monster effects, and if this card will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish 1 Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz monster from your graveyard instead. This is a really weird design. I don't really see like exactly where this fits. It's kind of cool, like that it has like this protection effect and it can kind of, but like all it does is just like reduce the attack of your opponent's monsters. I don't really think it's like too crazy, but it's interesting, I'll say that. And now we have the best card in the set, Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. This is another one of the hyper secret rares you can possibly get, but remember, it does come in regular secret rare as well. Wind Fairy Link effect with Saryuja's arrow, so top, bottom left, bottom, and bottom right for a Link 4. Question mark attack, 2+ monsters with different names except tokens. You can only control 1 of this card. The original attack becomes 800 times the number of Link materials used for its Link summon. Once per chain, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can make this card lose exactly 800 attack, and if you do, negate the activation. Not a lot to say. This card's absolutely nuts. There's a reason why it's the chase card. Basically, the fact that it's 4 negations on a single card. It's not once per turn, it's once per chain. Just so much value to this card. Definitely, if you have this card, just keep it. I mean, you could sell it for now, but like definitely make sure you have it at some point. This card is going to see play. Now we have Defender of the Labyrinth, Earth Warrior Link effect with bottom left, bottom right arrows. Requires 2 normal monsters, so that's not going to happen too often. 1400 attack. Non-effect monsters you control gain 500 attack. Also, all effect monsters you control lose 500 attack. If this card is in its owner's possession, destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can target 1 non-effect monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use the Defender of the Labyrinth once per turn. So it's pretty good value if it's destroyed by your opponent's card, but again, you have to be playing normal monsters for it to be really good. I guess Tenyi could possibly take advantage of because it does a non-effect, not normal. So it's a bit of an iffy one, but I don't know. Again, if there's any type of deck that takes advantage of normal monsters, this card will probably be in it. And last but not least, for this first part of our review, we have Baba Barber. So it is a Dark Fiend Link effect with bottom and left arrows going to 200 attack and Link 2. It requires any 2 monsters, so it's pretty generic. So it's basically like Underclock Taker, I guess, in that regard. At the start of each battle phase, you can target this card or one monster this card points to, banish it until the end phase. You can only use each effect once per turn. So that's a bit of a downside. It doesn't like point to your opponent or anything like that. But again, this is interesting just because of the fact it's another underclock taker like effect. Maybe you want something banished until the end phase because then it returns. So it's almost like pseudo protection in a way. I don't know. This is a bit of an interesting card. I think it would take some exploring. I don't think it's like terrible, but it's not like amazing either. Something you might want to just keep on your radar for, you know, your possible good generic Link 2s. So guys, that's going to wrap up part 1 of the set review. In the next video, we're going to be covering all the spell cards, the trap cards, as well as the OCG imports and TCG exclusives. Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member. Because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.